everyone. Today it is almost New Year's. Can you believe it? We are almost in 2026. The way the new year is just racing towards us. Now remember, 2025 started with Meghan writing the year in the sand. I wonder, how are we going to kick off 2026? How is that going to kick off? Cannot wait. And if you think about it, I mean, the as ever line, we're only 1 year in. And if you look at the website, email marketing, everything is really developed in a year. I mean, obviously, they've been developing it way before, but in terms of what has been released and what is on market, you've already got a strong range. The central range and then all of the gifting options that they've now got as well. Incredible. Well done to Meghan. Well done to the As Ever team. Well done to Harry also. Well done to the Sussex squad. Heck, well done to the haters for exposing yourself even more. Yes, let's give the haters a congratulations as well. You've been fabulous, guys. I know some of you are listening, guys and women. I know you haters are listening. The haters have been glorious this year. Really showing what great fans they are. But all jokes aside, I believe that 2025 was a warm-up. It was literally just a warm-up. And I can't wait for what's next. All right. We've got a lot to listen to today. You're not just going to be listening to my voice. A lot of audio in this podcast. Obviously, can't play video too much because of the copyright police. But there's been very interesting and shocking commentary actually regarding Charles's speech. One sec, folks. Sorry, regarding Charles's speech and his use of the word diversity, which seems to have really ticked off a lot of royalists, people who are very right-leaning, nationalist. Like, I'm shocked. I don't follow any right-leaning pages, but because I follow a lot of royal adjacent accounts and news adjacent accounts, half of my For You feed is just right-leaning people. Granted, some of them could be bots, but some of them, like media people, just trashing Charles. Even the Talk TV which is Murdoch owned, has been on Charles's neck. Literally just because he included the value of diversity in his speech, which is quite something. And I want to listen to some of the commentary and dissect it because there's actually a lot to unpack. But before we get into that, changes in the Sussex team. Now, the Sussex team got a new PR communications person, Meredith Maines, who has been amazing, let me just say. If anything, I think what she's leaving for the Sussexes is a new approach and a new direction that I think really protects them, their family, and their business. And I love the direction she took, and I hope that continues when the Sussexes get their next PR person. So this is from Rebecca, Duchess of Sussex, on Instagram. She said, Wow, it's genuinely sad to see Meredith leave. She really transformed the communications. I'm not one to weigh in heavily on staff changes, but honestly, Meredith did an amazing job. Sad to see her go. Even the stuff that may not be obvious, she really professionalized their LinkedIn, for example. For instance, after all these years, she's done so much since starting. That's how you make an impact. So, a spokesperson for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex confirmed the change in a statement to People. Meredith Mains and Method Communications have concluded their work with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The Duke and Duchess are grateful for their contributions and wish them well. Mains also shared a statement saying, after a year of inspiring work with Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and Charle, I will be pursuing a new opportunity in 2026. I have the utmost gratitude and respect for the couple and the team and the good they are doing in the world. So, they are not expected to recruit another chief communications officer. Instead, Liam Maguire, who is the UK based, previously served as director of communications for UK and Europe, and will now take on an expanded role as lead communications director, with his remit expanding for a US based operation too. It will be interesting to see how that evolves, unless he eventually relocates. I have mixed feelings, Rebecca said. I understand the appeal of short term or trial arrangements, but given the level of scrutiny they face, it's such a key role. Yes. Stability and leadership at the foundation has been a strength, thank God, for James Holt and Shauna Knepp, who have been co executive directors for many years, and communications should ideally benefit from the same continuity. Meredith was highly effective. Ashley Hansen essentially said on a podcast, a comms role for the Sussexes is very different to other A-listers. This isn't a movie star setup where you only need someone during filming or promotion and then move on with some light touch comms. It's constant, indeed. I'm going to touch on that in a second when I finish reading this. The scrutiny is comparable to what senior political figures face, much like presidents, as Ashley Hansen said. And she explained how it was very constant. At the same time, I remain positive as Meredith has likely developed a clear and successful communications framework during her time there. Yeah. And listen, I think we all know in this space, we probably knew better than Meredith going into this job. Hey, the day in, day out, what the actual F? Are you effing serious? Can it get any more ridiculous? The Lion, the Witch, the audacity of this be the crazy that is being connected to Harry and Meghan. More so, being the person on their team that is entrusted with effectively being their like non-legal defense, right? Just like the PR person is like the lawyer without the briefcase and the files. This is the type of higher pressure job that you'd only get this day in, day out, 24/7 nonsense. Literally, if you're working for the president of the United States, not even the president of any other country, the president of the United States. I don't know if there's anyone else who this level of scrutiny, who is a non um leading political leader, i.e., they're not president or prime minister, that gets a level of scrutiny, 24/7 commentary, stuff made out and up of absolute nothing from thin air that Harry and Meghan do. And that would weigh on anyone. I don't know, where Meredith is in life, if she's married, she has kids, she has a family, but the pressure, someone, on the other side of the planet says that Meghan's mom is a criminal and went to jail. It's 3 a.m. in the morning, and you got to do something about that. I wouldn't blame her if if that's what the reason was for her to go. But I also do wonder if, some people, especially in celebrity world, they like to have rolling contracts. So maybe it was just the end of the contract and she was like, I don't want to continue with this, which is fair enough. I don't think there's anything I don't it doesn't come across to me like there was hard feelings here or anything like that. I just think it was a mutual decision. She wants to move on. And you know what? Work for Harry and Meghan on your CV. I hope she demands a bigger paycheck when she gets to the next job. Brilliant thing to have on your CV. And she did an incredible job. And I hope they continue with this tone. There has been some commentary in the UK media, of course. But to me, this is a nothing to see here situation. She came, she conquered the trolls, she set a new pace and a new tone, and she's leaving. That's it. Happens in a professional corporate roles all the darn time. So all the trolls who are making a big thing out of this, you need to focus on your faves, and ask why they have a constant rotation of people. Wendy Longman, I said it yesterday. Charles' speech is laughable. He is a hypocrite with his treatment towards the Sussexes and allowing the continued abuse by the press. Yes, this is another piece of commentary that has come out of Charles' speech, talking about diversity, but you drove the only member of color of your family almost to suicide. Or rather, let me correct that. They were driven almost to suicide because you didn't put any boundaries with the press and you allowed that to happen. But you're talking about diversity, please. And you said the scar on the side of Kate's temple is where, well, we don't know for sure where that scar came from. We're going to talk about it, but we don't know for sure. So I don't want to, on my page, want to make allegations that I don't have 100% with certainty evidence on, but it's something that we will discuss. Veronica, you said, why can't the tabloids stop obsessing over Harry and Meghan? Just leave them alone. Because they're their biggest moneymakers. That's why. It's pretty simple. They haven't seen this much cash since the Diana years. This much cash, this much traffic, all the rest of it. Wendy said, how many people quit working for Kitty and Willie? Exactly. All right, next thing. Just load up my slides. Yeah, so Kate Scott, like I said, I don't want to make any accusations, especially when it comes to DV or, that type of thing. I think that's a very sensitive topic. But it has been noted that Kate has quite a visible scar. Now, from my understanding, she did have some kind of scar around the eye area before, but it seems like almost a second scar has appeared like just above the brow and to the side. Now, I've never been to any of these events because you're not going to find me lining up in the cold. So I've never seen Kate in person. So, and even in videos, even HD videos still have this kind of filteresque effect on them where you can't really see the details, especially if the person's got makeup on, camera ready makeup on. So I've never seen Kate in person to be able to see this scar up close. But even in the pictures here, you can see that it's quite visible and quite noticeable. And the feeling is that this appeared after whatever happened on December 28th at Sarandon, right? Now, it could also be, Kate's an older woman. There has been talk of her getting work done. Could be from that also. Who knows? One allegation theory that went around was that she, during this break or whatever treatment she was getting, she also got some work done. Just an allegation, allegedly. But some people feel that it was something a lot darker that happened. We don't know for sure. But it is noticeable, it is visible. So they were at Sarandon for this church walkabout, and the commentary from this has been interesting. There is a Kate account. Now, this is a Kate and William royal account that posted a video of the kids, George, Louis, and Charlotte, receiving toys. The responses were wild. I think that particular video now, let me actually look for it. It had millions of views. Millions. And then the quote tweets, I mean, let's have a read through them. This is how you know so much of the vitriol towards Harry and Meghan is paid bots, because when they're not expecting the truth to come out, or they're not expecting something like this to go as viral as it did, that's when you see people's true feelings. So you have some of these comments. This is effing bizarre. Queuing up to give presents that you have spent money on to the royal family. Lining up to give gifts to people who have everything, then issuing on people who have nothing. Zero hope for this country. We need to stop this mindless idolization of a family who do nothing for us, who have everything they could ever need. There are kids out there who woke up to nothing on Christmas Day because 4.5 million of them live in poverty. Please, for the love of God, pack it in. It's nearly 2026 and people are lined up in the cold to give gifts to royals. I also think that this should be the last time that they have the kids out here doing this, because I don't believe in going after the kids, even the Wells's kids, as they keep the kids out of this. But people are now even dragging the kids, because why the kids, rich kids, getting presents? In my opinion, the kids are totally innocent in this. They didn't choose to be in this family, but they are now getting dragged. And the thing is, they will bring the kids to events like this because it will increase the chances of them getting coverage in the media and the tabloids. But these are just a few of the quote tweets that I pulled up. And you can see even the quote tweets, right? One of them has 160,000 views, 6,000 likes, almost 900 quote tweets and retweets, and over 300 messages. That's just the one. That's the quote tweet. The original one had like millions of views. I don't know what the royals are going to do, because bots don't show up to events. Now, there were some people saying that the old people that came out, some of them were a bought crowd. I don't necessarily believe that. I do genuinely think that these are royalists that came to see the royals because they wanted to see the royals. It was a much older crowd, also given the area where this was. So I think the crowd was genuine, but it's definitely dwindling. And the commentary that people were giving, I think this whole Sarandon walk thing is going to become less and less and less popular. What is even the point? If only that peasants line up to give royals teddy bears, royal children teddy bears, like they don't already live in a giant estate or castle. And like they're not already funded by the British taxpayer. Dear oh dear. Well, I want to turn to Charles's speech. Now, I haven't heard the whole speech in total, and I'm not going to listen to it. But there was one particular part in the speech where he talks about diversity. And a lot of people, especially right-leaning, did not like this. So here, and Talk TV, which is Murdoch owned, they just won't stop beating down on Charles. So let's start with this commentary. Give me one sec. Let's. Yeah, anger at Charles. Oh, can you all see? Oh yeah, I was just waiting for this to come up on the screen on my side. I think on my side it's a bit slow. So let's have a listen to this, and then I'm going to give some commentary.
Why do we have to show the king respect? Respect is a two-way street. The days when we had to doff our caps saying sir, no sir, or yes or no sir, sorry, are gone. Revered his mother, but this monarch is totally out of touch with the shambles this country is in. He says, not my king, betrayer of the Christian faith. Barry. Now, Barry, let me...
Now, first and foremost, he said, you know, about the queen. I mean, was the queen really for the people? Was she relatable in any way? I don't believe that she was. I think when it comes to the royals, they're always going to put their own interests first. And then this individual says, you know, they're angry that they feel that, you know, Charles is not defender of the faith. And this is in part a lot of the commentary that's going on right now, because Charles is meant to be head of the Church of England. Well, he's also meant to be head of the Commonwealth. Right? And what I'm learning from a lot of these commentators is they really do regard the Commonwealth and the people of the Commonwealth as something that United Kingdom still actually has ownership over. Not these entities that are meant to be collaborative in any way, but they just have ownership over, and we are rather superior to all of them. And, well, let's continue listening to what he says, and then I'll make some more commentary.
Be very clear. First and foremost, the line "not my king" is ridiculous. It means nothing. He is the king. You can say you don't recognise him as the king if you want, but it is a bit silly because he is the king, and there is literally nothing you can do to change that. So, I'm not completely with you on that front, but I would say rather than show the king respect, just don't show the monarch disrespect. That's all I'd ask. So if you don't want to like the monarch, that's your problem, up to you. But please maybe just sort of understand that for many, many centuries, this country has had a monarch, and it falls to British people out of common courtesy to show respect to the monarch.
I mean, for a start, to echo what...
I mean, is the monarchy showing respect to the British people? That's the first question I'd ask. Are they showing respect to the British people by continuing to live these lavish lifestyles, take money from the sovereign grant at a time when many are struggling?
What you're saying, if the guy's face is on your money, I think you're kind of struggling to escape the fact that he's kind of at the top.
I was going to say, you're not going to win the argument, not my king.
Yeah, I mean, shout as loud as you like, maybe you'll get somewhere, but I doubt it. But I think that's a curious contribution, though, because I suspect that Barry is not anti-monarchist, probably just more the person of the king.
Yeah.
And of course, this is a bit like this, something that Roman Catholics have to go through as well. Every time the Pope changes and they think, oh, does he absolutely ascribe to this sort of interpretation of Catholicism I do? No. Well, in the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope is infallible. You're kind of stuck with him. And it's not quite the same, obviously, with the king, because he doesn't have the same sort of political influence or power that he used to. He still hypothetically does have a lot of power. He just chooses not to wield it. That's not to say that he doesn't have any political power. I think, though, that Charles is a product of an era.
I mean, when it comes to defending the likes of Andrew, absolutely Charles has the power, right? When it comes to doing what's best for the British people, not so much.
But that's how you have to view him. Not as somebody who is sort of sold out in the short term. He is the product of his entire lifetime. And he has gone from seeing Britain being, I don't want to say monocultural, because Britain was never monocultural in that sense. That, you know, 4 composite nations make up this country. But at the same time, it was not multicultural in the same way that it is now. And some would argue it's not really multicultural in the way that it's often portrayed. But whether he likes it or not, whether we like it or not, this is the lot that he's been dealt. And he does actually have to try and steer a path between these different communities. Now,
you know, he says that Britain was never multicultural. When Britain wanted to rebuild after the war, what did they do? They brought in people from other countries. This is why we've now ended up with this whole Windrush situation. And completely overstepping the legacy of colonialism and the role of Britain and empire in that.
These different
Oops, I was trying to play something. Hang on.
communities. Now, he's not going to sit there, is he, and say XYZ group should be ostracised because I don't like their view. I mean, sure, can we just imagine if he tries to do that, or XYZ group should be deported because I don't think they should be here? Obviously not, especially if they've come from Commonwealth countries, or countries of which he is also the head of state.
Obviously, you're right, Benedict, but I think the difference is, and this, from this perspective, I understand what Barry's getting at, funnily enough. So, Barry...
So that was that one. Let's have a listen to this one over here.
Steve, what would you like to make about the King's speech? What did you want to say?
Well, I listened to the King's speech, and I'm a royalist, and I think the King has broken his social contract with his subjects. And I'll tell you why, very quickly. The King is head of the Church of England, defender of the faith, head of the armed forces, and the biggest defender, supposedly, of our cultural values and history.
And there you hear the...
That's what the monarchy
Oh. Sorry, what I was going to say is, and there you hear the propaganda, right? What this individual thinks the monarchy is there for and what it's actually there for. It's just to uphold a class system and to protect these people's riches. That's it. Like, if you believe it's anything else, I'm sorry, but you've eaten up the propaganda. If it was ever going to be anything else, it would have happened by now. And probably the last chance to prove that it could be something useful and rebrand, as it were, even if that rebrand was window dressing, was when Meghan came into the royal family. And they fumbled that.
Therefore, when he goes abroad, he takes British cultural values with him as a shield to say to the world, look how wonderful Britain is because our values are much better than other people's. In that...
And this is what royalists like him believe that is part of the point of having this monarchy. Still in this here 2025 going on 2026. That's the idea of monarchy that they want and that they want to represent them and this country, not something modern and progressive. Like I said at the beginning, something that still has a sense of ownership and superiority over other countries. Like, why can it not be viewing each other as equal, viewing each other as, you know, partners in how we make our countries, our communities better? That's how they view monarchy and the whole role of monarchy.
He never once mentioned the fact that we're cancelling Christmas, never once mentioned the soldiers that fight in his name that are living on the streets, and never once mentioned defending our culture and our history. He just sat there like a big woke guy and said, yeah, bring it on, let's change Britain.
I think that you have to be willing to have honest conversations about parts of your culture and history. Doesn't mean you dismiss the good parts. It doesn't mean that that's the only thing that you talk about, but you can't not talk about it. Harry mentioned something. I remember when they were having the Zoom call during COVID with the Commonwealth youth leaders, and about having difficult conversations about the past. It's like they don't want to indulge that at all. They don't want to take part in those conversations at all. It makes them uncomfortable, and as they should. And they try to ignore them as if they don't matter in the wider context of what this person is saying. They absolutely do.
Supposed to defend this nation and its history and its culture. That's his sole role in life. That's what we pay him for. That's why we have the palaces and all the pomp and ceremony, to remind people of our history and how great it was. And he sits there and goes, oh, let's have diversity. Really? Yeah? The empire wasn't built on diversity. It was built on a shared collection of social values that we spread across the world. Yeah. But he's not even defending it.
No, Steve, you're absolutely right. I mean, I would say one thing. I also happen to be much of a royalist. I do normally respect the royal family. I know there are some people who say, how can you do that? So they're all privileged and all that malarkey. I almost understand that argument.
Isn't malarkey, though? It's not malarkey. It's actually the truth, is it not? They are privileged. Can we not point that out?
But I don't buy into it, so I think there's the difference. But now, Steve, what would you like to make about the King's speech? What did you want to say?
Well, I listened to the King's speech, and I'm a royalist, and I think the King...
Yeah, I think Steve is very confused. But again, all of this was on Talk TV. This is a Murdoch-centered show. And they seem to be as mad about Charles mentioning that word diversity as some of the hardcore royalists are. Veronica, the monarchy needs to be abolished, period. Well, I'm a rather moderate reformer on this issue. I just say take away the public access to money, the sovereign grant access to money. They don't need it. I would also say take away any protected privileges they have that allow them to take part in any kind of corruption. Like, I don't think you need to go through the entire constitutional circus of abolishing the monarchy. I just think there's some very common sense things that you can do. And one of them is that they don't get money from the sovereign grant. And that it's made clear to the kids and upcoming royals, you got to go to work. You got to get an education. Right? But I do understand also the take that some people are just like, yeah, abolish the monarchy. But I feel like you'd get the exact same results that you'd want, and you don't necessarily have to abolish the monarchy. Because abolishing the monarchy is not just about the individual members of the royal family. There's a whole structure around it. So actually, another solution would be deal with the individual members of the royal family. Restructure the power structures within the fold. So like the courtiers. I think the courtiers should be abolished first. Before we even talk about abolishing the whole monarchy, can we abolish the courtiers? How about that? Selective power, exactly. This is the thing. When it comes to what action is taken and against who. Gakyu said, broken social contracts with the people, ooh, them fighting words. It means he just isn't delivering the facade they want. That's what they want. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Gak. Thank you for putting into words what I was struggling to. They want the facade and the fairy tale. That's what they actually want in the end. The facade and the fairy tale. Sorry, folks. I'm just kind of trying to go through your comments. Yeah, that person on the phone was definitely an artist because, and yeah, it's giving. I want to give back colonialism. It's giving. I want to bring back imperialism, and that's what I think is great. Yes, Gak. They also need to do work. if it's public events, they need to be purposeful. I mean, I wouldn't even say that the work that they try to do is purposeless. It just doesn't create any impact. And they just don't really think through about a lot of things. So, for example, oh gosh, I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. But I was going to give an example of like, you know, Anne, for example, doing all of those engagements that she apparently does. And how does that help the causes? If we don't know what she does, we don't know what she shows up for. But at the end of the year, every single year, we have to listen to how she's one of the hardest working royals. Baby, we don't know what you do. It's work with a small W. At this point, you know, Gak, you're saying they need to do real work. If it's public events, they need to be purposeful. I don't even think they have the ability to be purposeful at this point, because they're just lacking in so much purpose. Yeah, it's the entire infrastructure that is the monarchy. Wendy, you said the King's speech was a mixed bag of fake stands on social issues, diversity and transparency of the health and wealth of entitlement of the royals. Well, this is a very good point that you've raised, Wendy, because I think for people that are annoyed at the whole diversity stance, and I mean, read the political room, right? Things have gone more to the right. So not a good time and space to even say anything like that. Unless, you know, you got to be aware, especially being in Kate's position, in the royal family's position, well, people who want traditionalism, tend to lean more, you know, towards the right as a general rule of thumb. But you're talking about diversity, and you are meant to be shining examples of what the next king and queen will be, but also how one should be in general. Oh dear. Shirley said they have enough wealth to keep generations of that family in luxury without working. Well, I don't think that we actually have enough transparency on royal money and what gets spent where and how and when. They're even now saying, okay, let me not go there. Let's not get sued. Gaku said, yes, my point exactly, Anne. What are they counting? They have 0 accomplishments. I mean, how are they counting some of these meetings? Oh, I had an appearance here, and then let me go 5 minutes down the road, another appearance there. And then somehow at the end of the year, we get a tally of 500 appearances. I want to know, actually, at this point, them 500 appearances that Charles apparently did, hardest working royal of the year, I want to know what appearances they were at this point. Because even as somebody that's in this space, I don't remember thinking that I've seen Charles out and about too often, unless I just don't see the pictures. Yeah, I think that Kate, William, and Charles are in for a bumpy year. I don't think they really fully understand what is facing them now. The 2 most popular royals are gone on the other side of the planet, and also the royals that they use as a punching bag. Kate, I don't believe is like 100% the Kate that we used to know. I think this is a very different Kate that's standing in front of us now. Ever since the 28th. And I don't believe that we have the full truth of what happened that evening. I think there's more to come. Gaki said, when will the people of England have these folks out? Well, there are monarchies across Europe that have just downsized. That's it. I actually think that most people just wouldn't mind the royals if they just downsized. Oh, sorry, I actually remembered what I was going to say now. Somebody had made a comment about royal money and that the royals have all this money. And yet they're running around, Charles getting cash money bags from Qatar, all of this stuff. I think they're likely very, very asset heavy, of course, but cash poor. Gek, you said, could you expand on this more? Expand on what part, hun? Mind you, I'm about to end the podcast, so I might have to revisit what you are saying tomorrow. I think that this is a signal, if there ever was one, that just the Commonwealth at least needs to be dismantled. That is another thing that I would say. You don't necessarily have to abolish the whole monarchy, but if this is the way that we're talking about, you know, if we're getting triggered by the talk of diversity, if some people, they hear that and their mind goes to a political place when Charles is meant to be the head of the Commonwealth, then definitely dismantle the Commonwealth, get rid of it. Because you're letting us know that you clearly have an issue with people of colour. So why should Charles be the head of state in countries where there are a majority of people of colour? Traditionally, you said the British monarchy is cash poor. Their money is mostly real estate. Well, what about the rentals that they're getting from all of this real estate and land? Where is that money going? How is it spent? So you've got sovereign grant money, you've got money from the duchy, got money from your rich friends. So why do you not have money then, it feels like? Or why are you still seeking money from other nefarious, partnerships? It's all just very strange. Like I always say, I don't feel like we have transparency on royal money, but I feel like we're going to have it eventually. And what we're told may not even be the half of it. All right, I'm going to end things there. It'll be interesting going into the new year what platforms like Talk TV have to say about Charles. Because again, remember, Talk TV is Murdoch owned. But I also have a feeling that Murdoch is mad that they weren't able to stop Harry in his court case. So maybe that's another reason why. I just remembered the others are just getting thrown under the bus at this point. Oh yes, Churchill, remember only the heirs get the money, yeah, and they get to hang on to it and weaponize it and use it as a form of control. All right, folks, I will leave things there. Some food for thought. Thank you as always for coming, and I guess I will see you tomorrow. Ciao.